To us, this is just a single pen stroke. But for some retired NFL players, this single flick of the wrist can send them down a path some don't come back from.
I came to the conclusion that there was nothing else to do except end my miserable life.
And I found myself on the railroad tracks in 2011 trying to keep myself in Metairie.
I need help, and I need help now, and I'm going to kill myself on Sunday.
The NFL purposely, maliciously caused great harm to us, using their tactics of delay, deny, and hope that I put a through my head to end their problem.
I was taking roughly 80 pills a day. I was doing this because my life had been consumed by pain ever since I retired from the NFL.
15 Norco, just to get me out there.
That's why I smoke my weed, so I can be calm and I can be, kind of painless for a moment.
There was a time when being drafted into the NFL was actually seen as no big deal. Matter of fact, the world's first Heisman winner and NFL draftee turned down a chance to play in the league.
Unlike today, the 1974 draft started with few spectators.
But then time passed, TV deals got signed, team names and logos got embedded in the culture, and what was once seen as a job that you might turn down became the dream job for American boys.
I've worked my entire life to be up here, to be able to get my name called.
By the 70s, players like Randy Grimes spent all day dreaming of a moment like this. And they'd lived this dream for 3 to 5 years, or if you lucky like Randy, maybe even longer.
Randy Grimes, who is a 10-year veteran of the NFL, played center for the Tampa Bay Bucks.
But no matter how long a dream lasts, the core principle of dreams is that eventually you gotta wake up. Some players woke up to a sobering reality, but it turned out they was the lucky ones. The less lucky ones woke up from their dreams straight into a nightmare, bro.
So it's like somebody's just whacking my kneecap, just whacking it every time my heart beats.
He pushed that morphine button. He would just like hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it.
Damn. Open the thing up.
After having every word they ever said placed under a microscope, leading up to and during their playing days, now all of a sudden, nobody can hear them, and it doesn't seem to matter how loud they scream. According to a study published by the National Library of Medicine, up to 90% of former NFL players report ongoing pain after retirement. About 70% of them describe that pain as, quote, moderate to severe. But those terms can have a dehumanizing effect, as the brain can't really process what they actually mean. What it means is that the pain can range from interfering with your concentration all the way up to completely incapacitating a person to the point where they can't even perform basic functions like maybe getting up, maybe sitting down, or something simple as putting on a shirt. Daily pain at this level slowly taxes the brain. Your patience thins and your temper flares. Your nervous system stays on high alert, flooding the body with stress hormones until rest no longer feels like rest. And when sleep becomes shallow, fatigue becomes permanent. So the brain starts to change. The parts of you that dreamed, imagined, and hoped, those parts start to die. And it all builds on each other, because once that happens, it sets the stage for an even bigger problem. Without dopamine, humans can't feel motivated or look forward to future reward. Dopamine increases in the brain when a reward is expected, which leads to a conundrum summed up with one question. What happens when all you can logically expect is more pain tomorrow and the day after that?
I was being denied from the NFL for trying to get my benefits because your body hurt so bad. And I found myself on the railroad tracks in 2011 trying to keep myself in Metairie.
Former Saints tight end Boo Williams has been to the darkest sides of NFL retirement. An undrafted player back in 2001, he scratched and clawed his way up to a roster spot. His biggest moment as a pro came in his third season. At 24 years old, he had a breakout game. It was October 23rd, 2003, the only time he ever got over 10 targets in a game. On his 12 targets, Boo Williams caught 9 passes for 110 yards and a touchdown. He finished that season with 41 catches, 436 yards, and 5 scores. It seemed like he was peaking at the perfect time. At 24, he was poised to have another 4 or 6 years in the league, and it was a good chance he had his best years all ahead of him.
Oh my goodness.
but the following season would be his last. Dude was already struggling with chronic neck and back pain, even going way back then. According to him, he knew he needed surgery.
I know I have to have surgery on my neck. I know I have to have surgery on my back. I knew this years ago while I was playing.
He didn't give a reason as to why he didn't get surgery back then, but if you follow the league, it's not hard to guess why. As an undrafted player who is fighting for a spot every year, a neck and back surgery is gonna shut you down for an extended period of time. And he was likely advised to wait until after his playing days, or at least after he got a nice contract. When you're an undrafted player in the NFL, generational wealth is right around the corner. Although most players in that situation never actually make that turn. So he pushed the surgery off to a later day. But that day would never come. And this is where the pin stroke we talked about in the opener comes into play. Alright, check this out. Boo Williams' fight with the NFL claim system started all the way back in 2009. This was 3 years after his final snap with the New Orleans Saints. Even though he was well within the 5-year coverage period, he would quickly find out that things wasn't that simple. He applied for the line of duty disability benefits, so the NFL assigned an orthopedic doctor to evaluate him. Now, these league assigned doctors use a system called WPI, whole person impairment. They use the system to determine who does and who doesn't actually qualify for benefits. In order to qualify, your WPI has to be at 25% or higher. Keep that in mind. 25%. It's super important to what's coming up. After his appointment, the doctor placed Boo's WPI at 27%. That was high enough to qualify for about $2,400 a month in benefits. Probably not enough to handle what he really needed handled, but at the time, Boo felt like at least it's something. But then a couple weeks later, they sent Dude an addendum. Apparently, the doctor spoke to the NFL's disability plan director, who, quote, suggested that Boo's upper body rating be reduced from 12% down to 6%. I mean, he literally suggested they cut it in half. Now, the doctor who examined him saw it as 12%, but some dude on the phone apparently knew better. Then the doctor treated this suggestion more like an order or command or a mandate. He got Boo Williams' file, then pulled out a pen. He crossed out 4 numbers and reduced them all. And this reduction dropped his overall WPI from a 27 to a 24, 1 point below the qualifying number. A few strokes of the pen erased his eligibility and sent him down a 15-year path of unnecessary pain. Thanks to those pen strokes, he suffered from crippling depression, which culminated in him laying on railroad tracks. But is there something malicious going on here? Or is this whole thing just one big coincidence? In 2023, 10 retired players, including guys like Willis McGahee and Charles Sims, filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL. One of the most powerful claims made by the lawyers in the case was that there was evidence that showed that despite the fact that these doctors were said to be neutral parties, there was actually a direct correlation between how much the doctor got paid by the league and the number of denials that they handed out. Only thing definitive that's been decided as of now is that the player's allegations are plausible enough to be investigated further and potentially tried in court. Here's the evidence they presented to try to prove their case. Doctors who got paid $86,000 or less found that 20% of the players they checked qualified for the highest benefits. Doctors who got paid $190,000 found that only 4% of the players they checked actually qualified for the highest benefits. And doctors who got paid $250K or more, so the ones that was really balling, they found that 0% of players qualified for the highest level of benefit. Now, I guess you could read that a couple of ways. Some people might say, well, the higher paid doctors are better and therefore have a higher standard when they're checking, and that's an opinion you can hold. But the same way, that's a fair opinion to hold. Another super fair way to interpret this data is that the less money you approve to go out, the more money the league ended up paying you. So no matter how you feel about that, there's some evidence to suggest that financial relationships could be influencing the medical results. And specifically looking at a case like Boo Williams, that takeaway seems to be the most likely. Across a lot of insurance and disability systems, the company paying the benefits also chooses and pays all the doctors who decide whether or not someone qualifies. So this is not uniquely an NFL problem. It's a conflict of interest that's built right into the very fabric of insurance companies.
If their policy clearly covers them against
I don't want to know about their
litigation.
coverage, Bob. Don't tell me about their coverage. Tell me how you're keeping Insuracare in the black. Tell me how that's possible with you writing checks to every Harry Hardluck and Sally sob story that gives you a phone call.
But while some players get flat out denied, even ones who might qualify for some coverage still end up running into a problem. For them, the insurance doctors ain't the only opponent. They also have to fight against the clock. When you retire from the league, a countdown starts. That's 5 years of health insurance. Continued medical support is only available for players who meet specific thresholds. One threshold is having at least 3 vested seasons. 3 seasons where you was on the active roster, injured reserve, or the pup list. If you just practiced all year or got injured in camp, that season ain't vested and it don't count. But if, and that's if, you get enough vested seasons, this puts a little more time on your 5-year clock. But it doesn't guarantee you anything really, except the opportunity to keep playing against the toughest opponent you've ever had to face. On average, an NFL player ends up with about 6 to 8 years of league-related coverage, but most of their worst issues don't actually show up until around 10 years post-retirement. Once the coverage ends and the chronic pain continues, or in some cases even worsens, players then forced to take pain management into their own hands. And that's when it gets bad. Now some players, Boo Williams for example, use marijuana, which he smokes every day, and much of the world is starting to catch up to the benefits and lack of significant downsides that are associated with this option. Not only is it considered a cheaper option long-term than high-grade pain pills, but it also doesn't carry the same overdose risk or addiction risk as some of the other options. But as we know, the NFL not only frowns on marijuana, they offer severe punishments for positive tests. Now that might not seem like it's really relevant since we're literally talking about retired players, but if it's not making sense yet, just hear me out for a second and you'll see why it was important for me to point that out. Before 2019, when the NFL was still derailing careers over marijuana tests, they were instead giving players copious amounts of a way more dangerous and addictive pain-killing option. So a lot of the opioid addictions we see post-career kicked off when players were in the league, because this is what team doctors was giving these dudes to manage their pain, creating a bigger problem. Former NFL players misuse painkillers and alcohol at higher rates than everybody else, and this is especially among those players who experience chronic pain. Back in 1999, backup Ray Lucas was the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. One time he got hot, and over a 3-game stretch, dude passed for 743 yards, 8 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. The Jets went 2-1 over that stretch. I mean, this was one of dude's highest moments. But one of his lowest moments was when he woke up post-retirement and had to punch his legs awake because of nerve damage in his back. Things like this would eventually lead Ray Lucas down a long rabbit hole of pain. Now he experiences this every day of his life. I mean, day after day, the pain just never stops. For years, he was unable to get the surgeries that he needed, due once again to insurance limitations. And during that time, bro, his pain only worsened. It sent him all the way down the dark path of addiction.
I went from 125 Vicodin to 600 Vicodin to 1400 Vicodin to 1600 Vicodin a month. So this whole section right here, I was taking 80 a day. That whole section right there would be dead right now. Right in this moment, they would be dead. This is not a game, ladies and gentlemen.
A little over a decade ago, he finally got his fusion surgery that he desperately needed. In the surgery, they removed discs from his neck. Then they had to fuse his vertebrae together. Some complications arose because it took so long, making the procedure more difficult and more risky. There's a bunch of variables at play when it comes to this stuff, but time can throw its weight around much better than most. The long wait periods have a tendency to send the players deeper and deeper into addiction, and by the time they actually get the procedures they need, they have to deal with the pain at 100%.
So if I take a pill today, you'll never see me again.
This is Randy Grimes, a second-round pick from 1983. Back then, they say practice was as bad as the game. Like many players back then, Randy got his body beat up so bad. And during the season, you never could recover because the coaches didn't know how to manage players' bodies. So Randy's injuries began to stack, one on another, kept getting worse. And on top of that, he's an offensive lineman, the most selfless group on the whole team. So no matter how beat up dude's body would feel, he would do anything to get back out there. This included taking 45 pills every single day to numb his pain. He quickly got addicted and ended up playing the latter years of his career in complete blackout. So then when he retires, the pain is still there, the need to manage the pain is still there, and the addiction's still there. And now he ain't really got nowhere he gotta be. So what you think happened? The addiction got worse. When he finally got treatment at 50 years old, just like Ray Lucas, because he was an addict, he had to deal with that post-surgery pain with no pain pills, and it was not pretty.
He pushed that morphine button. He would just like hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone in so much pain.
Damn.
These players will likely live with chronic pain, honestly, for the rest of their lives. And I ain't making this video to make you depressed. I like to deal with the real. I ain't about to sugarcoat it. But at the same time, I accept the reality, then dig even deeper and find the hope. For both Ray Lucas and Randy Grimes, back in the day, they both got connected with a nonprofit called PAST, which stands for Pro Athlete Support in Transition. The group helped former players navigate life after football, especially with mental health and addiction issues. They even made this documentary called Casualties of the Gridiron, where a lot of footage from this video originally comes from. Ironically, PAST no longer exists today, but those who they helped get back on their feet have picked up the baton, tripped over the first hurdle, but then got their foot in and started the sprint. Today, Randy spends his time helping people who struggle with pain and addiction. He started a company called Athletes in Recovery, a venture that's been extremely successful. They offer confidential, free peer-to-peer support for athletes and others in the recovery journey. They assist with navigating the process of finding both treatment and aftercare options as well. They even provide financial assistance to help facilitate all of those things. So that's what's up. Today, Ray Lucas is an analyst who's won an Emmy and is actually a really good public speaker who warns against the dangers of addiction and how it can be brought on through our love of sports. Both of these dudes deal with pain on the daily, and both have come back from depths so low that they actually consider taking their own lives. As human beings, bro, we got a lot of problems, but at the end of the day, we was made in God's image. And even in our fallen state, bro, traits like resilience can shine their way even through the darkest of depths. But what about the guy who went way past just thinking it? The guy who went way past just planning it out? I mean, it's cool that Randy and Ray found their way out the darkness, but what about Boo Williams? Rest had eluded Boo Williams for years on end. He was tired, but sleep couldn't heal his fatigue. So he walked down to the railroad tracks with intentions of taking one final nap. He laid his 6'4" frame across the tracks. He asked God to take care of his kids and family. Then he dozed off or maybe passed out with intentions of awakening in the afterlife. And after a couple of days, he thought he was there.
And I just find myself being tugged and pulled up, and I open my eyes and I see these silhouettes. I'm thinking, okay, I'm there already. I've been missing for a few days, don't know how many. It was 2 homeless people that saved me. And not to mention, it was homeless people that I've given clothes to before. They were pulling me up and they was telling me, Boo, get up. It didn't dawn to me that they knew my name. They were train jumpers that jumped trains from state to state. I really came to and looked at them. What are you doing on the tracks? They let me know who they were, and they told them that they were wearing the clothes that I gave them a couple weeks ago. So what is the odds of that happening at that moment? Being a 6'5" guy, but feeling like you're 4 foot nothing is something that you really have to, I was learning how to deal with. I was trying to find out not just who I was inside, but what was my purpose on this planet? Because I knew that I had some type of purpose, but I didn't know what it was.
I believe that you had a divine intervention that was to spur you onto your purpose that you're doing now. You're one of the leaders that ex-players look to when they are in trouble.
When I started this project, I just happened to come across the beginning of the stories of these three men. But it wasn't until I was deep into the research that I started to see what became of them. It actually shocked me that all three men who've gone deep on the dark side of NFL retirement miraculously climbed their way out of it. By the end of the story, that wasn't what shocked me the most. What shocked me the most was what they did next.
Because if I save one of you today,
I work with athletes and judges and teachers, and
I just can't sit by and continue to let them do this to other people.
But how'd they go from not having energy to live on to having spare energy to lift others as well? I was pleasantly surprised to find another common thread beyond the NFL, beyond the pain. All three have some type of relationship with God. Ray's seen saying grace in the documentary. Randy's wife mentions on their website how she had to step aside and let God back into her husband's life, which was a major key in overcoming his addiction. Boo Williams believes he had a divine encounter when he was pulled off the train tracks shortly after giving up. Once that relationship was mended, each of these men found their way out of a trap that most don't come back from.
I'm standing here, 80 a day, still here. The man upstairs got a purpose for me.
Through God, they all found something essential, a sense of purpose, a reason to go on, despite how difficult things might get. Today, they all walk with a brand new purpose, a brand new swag, and a brand new life. So if you're down, depressed, addicted, in pain, consider following the steps of these three cats. Build a relationship with God as He's the foundation that gives you purpose, which gives you access to a brand new strength that you probably never knew you had access to. Another thing I noticed is that they all found community, with Randy and Ray actually finding each other. Boo moved to a small town where he has relationships with the local restaurant owners, the police, firemen. So that's another thing, bro. Community is a big one. NFL retirement can be a dark place for some guys, but you don't need to be a retired NFL player to sometimes find yourself out in the dark. Let these three be an example of how you can come back, reignite that spark, and shine brightly again. Alright fellas, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I've been thinking about this one since the CTE joint, because not all post-NFL problems are CTE related, which by the way is why I really didn't mention that in this video. But if you want to check that one out, man, click the link on the screen. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and other than that, I'm gonna catch y'all next time.